What's up, everyone? Kyle here. Welcome to this edition of Our Travel Tips. Today I'm talking about what it's like traveling internationally during the world of COVID. So I got thinking about this. I guess we've been living in it for the last couple of years. It's changed some rules with traveling internationally. There's some places that we haven't been able to travel to internationally. But I got to thinking about this because my sister is taking an international trip. Actually, by the time this airs, she will have already been on it. But it made me think because I was like, oh, have you thought about or have you looked at what the requirements are to go into Canada, which is where she's going? Have you thought about or looked at what you need to do in terms of COVID or COVID protection in order to get into the country? So it's been really annoying, honestly, the last couple of years. I mean, I get it. We want to keep everyone safe. I'm totally all for that. Obviously, as you're crossing borders, you want to make sure that people are being safe and not spreading anything. But it's added another challenge to international travel. Not only do you have to deal with all the normal requirements and the normal hassle of traveling internationally, some places are harder or easier than others. But with this COVID, again, some places are harder or easier to get into with the world of COVID. So I've traveled internationally a couple times now in the last 2 years internationally. The first one was Italy, the second being Colombia and Panama. And actually, both of those were fairly easy. And as time has gone on, requirements have dropped internationally in a lot of countries. So when I went to Italy, that was September of 2021. It was still pretty difficult. So I had to test negative right before I went on the trip, which was a huge hassle to get a test to make sure I was all good to go there. But I had to test, I think it was within 48 hours, test negative before going on the trip. And then I had to fill out a COVID health form to get into the European Union and Italy. And then I had to make sure that I carried that around with me when I was traveling, because there's some places, some restaurants, some museums, things like that, where I couldn't get in unless I showed that I had just tested negative and also had been vaccinated as well. So that's the other thing, is if you're vaccinated, it's going to be easier to get into a lot of places. If you're not vaccinated, some places are still requiring a lot of requirements for you to be able to get in and stay in the country. So just, you want to make sure you're looking at each of those. Anyways, and then to get back out of the country and get back to the US, I had to test negative right before I left again. And honestly, still, I would say getting into the US is one of the hardest places to actually get into right now during the whole COVID stuff going on. The US has had some pretty strict requirements. As other countries have kind of dropped a lot of their requirements, the US has lowered their requirements as well. So it's not as bad now. So then fast forward to March of 2022, I went to Colombia and Panama. To get into Colombia, I don't think I had to test. I had a test for the tour that I was on, but I don't think I had to test to get into the country. I just had to show that I was vaccinated. By that time, the requirements had dropped a little bit. But then again, to get back to the US, I had to test negative right before I came back. So there was still that requirement. Anyways, so fast forward to now, where you want to look, where the best place to look is the US Department of State. You want to look at the travel requirements for each country that you're going to, and look at what is the requirement to get back into the US, because that's an important piece too. Those are important things to look at. You'll find the information actually for a lot of things on the Department of State website. You'll be able to see, if there's specific visas you have to get. Some countries require you to get a visa to get into. Like, I remember going to Russia back in 2016. I had to get a visa in advance of that trip to be able to get into Russia. They wouldn't let me in without that special visa. So there is requirements that differ depending on the country, depending on your nationality as well. So there's a lot of important things to look at as you're traveling internationally, especially during the times of COVID. So now the requirements when it comes to COVID have gotten a bit easier. I think it's pretty much you just got to show that you're negative, or show that you've been vaccinated. I think there's still some places that are pretty strict, but most places have dropped a lot of the requirements, especially if you're vaccinated. There's not a lot you have to do anymore, but there is still things that you have to do. My sister let me know that to get into Canada, she found out after we talked that she had to fill out a form saying that she had been vaccinated and that sort of thing. That is an important thing to look at. Anyways, that is some tips on COVID, international travel, making sure you're checking the requirements. Always a good thing to do before you go on your trip. You never know. You don't want to show up to the airport and realize, oh, I don't have my stuff, or even worse, get to your destination and realize they're not going to let me into the country. And so maybe I'll turn around and fly home. But anyways, you don't want to ruin your trip like that. For me personally, I got Morocco coming up. I'm traveling through traveling through 4 different countries in just over or about 2 months from now. And so I have to look into that. I have to look into for each country what are the rules, if I'm just passing through, that sort of thing. So could be a bit of a hassle. To be honest, it is going to be a little bit of a hassle, but that's what I'm here to do, is make sure that I'm looking at all those requirements, make sure that anyone I travel with has everything that they need to. That's the sort of stuff that I help with in my travel business, as I'm helping people design their trips, especially internationally now. So if you want help with that, let me know. You can check out my website, ourtravelexp.com, for all the details there, or different things that we can do there. But important things to look at, and important things to keep note as you're traveling. So keep traveling, everyone, and good luck, and I'll look forward to seeing you around the world soon.